Good evening and welcome back to another edition of the LIVRESQ Empower Your Teaching webinar. I'm very happy to be here. We've been on a bit of a break for the last month or so. There were some difficult. I mean, we've still been present, but it was also over Easter that we took a little break. So I'm glad to be back. We're going to keep doing these webinars once every 2 weeks, and I have an exciting topic for you today that features some of our lesser known features. I'm going to talk about something that has to do with increasing work productivity, with increasing your workflow in LIVRESQ that will hopefully be very helpful for you. This will be a very short webinar. I'm just going to showcase how it works technically. So this is aimed more towards advanced users, but if you want me to go over something in particular again, or if anything that I show in the webinar today is not clear, then please leave a comment, whether you're watching this as a recording on YouTube or whether you've joined us on Zoom or on Facebook. Leave a comment or turn on your microphone and I can answer in real time, or we can get back to you by answering your comment. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. The idea for what I'm going to show you today is the fact that you can use different bits of content and use it across your project so that you don't have to create it again and again. So we can move bits of content from projects. They can either be resources that you repurpose in different projects, or they can be sections. Because just as a quick reminder, excuse me, in LIVRESQ, the way we structure the platform is by using projects, sections, and resources. So everything you create in LIVRESQ is called a project. That's your final, it can be a course, it can be any type of final material, a slideshow of a course, or anything like that. All the projects inside LIVRESQ contain at least one section, and the content we call resources, and that content is what we add to the sections. So we can create sections that have images, text, any type of interactive content like quizzes, and each of these sections will be featured inside a project. A project can be one section long, or it can feature multiple sections. So what I'm trying to teach you today, or what I'm going to show you today, is how to start from either the level of a section or the level of a resource, or how to use one of these components in multiple projects, or resources in multiple sections, or sections in multiple projects. Because, for instance, a section can be a navigation guide you have for your learners, something that tells them how to use the platform or how to use your courses, or it can be any type of tool that can help them. We've done a webinar on this, I think earlier on this year, where we showed you that a section can become a button on the top bar of a LIVRESQ tool, of a LIVRESQ project, and that can actually be exported and used in multiple projects. In the same way, we can use resources and again export them and use them in multiple projects. So let's start with a section. I'm not going to create a project straight away, but contrary to what we usually do, or to how we usually begin, we're going to start by creating a section. We'll just go with new section, not use any of the templates. And this, what it does is create a section inside of my resources. I can edit this section, I can add resources to it. I have full freedom to use this section how I see fit. Normally, I'd be able to return to my project up here, but I cannot do this because I've just created a section. I'm going to rename this section so that we can sort of trace and see where it's stored and how it was saved. So we'll just call it demo section. If we go back to our resources, to our cloud, we'll see that the section automatically saves inside my resources. I haven't placed it in any folder yet, so it's just here waiting to be used. If I want to open it again and keep editing it, then I can just double click it and open it again, or I can return by using the workshop button. So right now I've created a section. Now, if I want to use this section in a project, I can go ahead and create my project, either using the home button I've just showcased or using this button. Whenever I create a project, it again automatically saves to my resources area. I'll double click that project. It has its own section, but now I can add the section I've created previously. And to do that, I have this button on the top toolbar here, add from organizer. And whenever I have the option to add from organizer, it just pops up my cloud, my resources, where everything is stored. And I can select my demo section and then click on insert, and it's inserted inside my project. This is how it works. Notice that it's not the original demo section that was added. This is a copy of it, which means that if I make any modifications to this section inside my project, it won't affect the original. I now have a copy. So I'm using this section that I have here as a sort of a template for my project, for another section that I have. And whenever I use that section, I'm using copies of it. I'm using it as a template that duplicates. So any changes that I make to my section here will not affect the original. I can keep using the original in multiple projects. And this works if you want to do it the other way around, because most of the times we configure a section that's useful for a certain project and we realize that maybe the content that we've added to that section or the way we've configured that section would work in other projects as well. So let's just pretend that I'm doing this in this project. Ignore the one that I've imported. I'm just adding another section, entering it, and now I've added a new section inside my project. It's obviously empty. I'm going to rename it. We'll call it section demo inside project, maybe, just so that we can track it easier. And now the option that I have, which allows me to export a copy of this, is again using this button here. So I'm inside my section and I have an export to organizer button at the top, which allows me to save my section in resources. And now when I go back to resources, I also have my section demo inside project saved as well. So I can create the section as is, as a section by starting from it, or I can export a section that I've created previously inside a project, and then in the same way I can add it to different types of projects. And again, once I import a section from my resources, once I add a section from my organizer, then bear in mind that I'm adding a copy of it. So if I edit my section inside a project, then these edits won't affect the original section file. It's a way to use it as a template. So this is how we work with sections. Again, if you have any questions at this point, please let me know. It's just an easy way to use content, to use maybe a bit of your course that may be relevant for other courses as well, and be able to insert in a different project very, very fast and in a very easy way. But it's not just about sections, it's also about resources. So in the same way, we can use resources that are useful. For instance, let's say we've created a feedback form in the form of a quiz with all of the questions that we need, and we want to insert that same feedback questionnaire, that same feedback quiz into multiple projects. We don't need it to create it in one section. We can just create the resource itself. I'm going to use this button at the top again, but you can use the button from the home page as well. I'm going to click on resource, and then I have the option to create any type of resource that I want. I'm just going to go with quiz. Right now I've created a quiz that I'm going to be using, for instance, as my feedback quiz. I'm double clicking it and I can select different bits of and I can start editing my quiz. I can add multiple questions. I can change its purpose. We have a whole webinar dedicated to how quizzes work in LIVRESQ and how you can change multiple things and how these settings can be used to your advantage. But let's just pretend that I've configured everything I want about this quiz. I'm also going to rename it. Maybe we call it feedback quiz. Now I have it saved here. I'm closing everything. We have the feedback quiz here. So the next step is adding my feedback quiz to my project. And again, this is a feedback quiz that I want to add into multiple projects. To do that, I've just entered a section, and I have under the content, all of the content buttons that allow me to add different types of content, different resources to my section. I have this button here that says templates, and it allows me to add resource from organizer. I can just drag and drop it inside my section. When I do that, it automatically pops up this menu that allows me to select which resource or which section or which resource, because we've just added a resource from organizer I want to add. I can select my feedback quiz, and it inserts it automatically exactly the way I edited it. Of course, I didn't spend a lot of time editing it, so that's why you can only we see a blank quiz, but it added the quiz that I wanted. If we click on it, we'll notice that again in the file name, we'll see that it's a copy of that quiz. So if I start editing the quiz inside my section, then I won't be editing the quiz that's saved in the organizer, this one. I'm just editing the version that is inside my section, the version that I've added. So whatever I have here, my sections, my resources will act as templates that are duplicated once they're used. And then of course I can, and by the way, this doesn't work, this works the other way around as well. If I edit my quiz now here, it won't automatically edit the quiz inside of my section. So they keep to their original versions. This is for when you create a quiz beforehand and you want to add it to a project later on. So they work in very similar ways, whether you want to create a section and place it in multiple projects, or whether you want to create a resource and place it in multiple projects. Everything saves here in the organizer. And then just to do a quick recap, in order to add sections to projects, we have these buttons here. We can add from organizer or export a section from organizer, either from the level of the section, if you enter the section and you press on this button, or you can export it from the level of the project. But to add one, you have the add button. And in order to add a previously created resource from the organizer to your section, so this is about content that you've created, we'll just drag and drop this icon down here that's under templates, underneath content. And this is the way you can streamline your work, and you can use work that is that you've spent time creating in multiple projects. I didn't show you one thing though. Let's say that again, like it was for sections, maybe I've created a quiz that I really liked that's inside a section already, that's inside my project. In order to export a resource that you create inside a project, you'll need to enter that resource, to enter the edit mode by double clicking on it. And there's also a button that allows me to export this quiz now to the organizer. And it works with any other resource. Maybe I create a gallery that I really like. I'll double click this gallery and I have the export to organizer button that allows me to export that resource to my organizer, and I can then use it in multiple projects. There's a shortcut around this if you'd like, if you maybe don't want to spend too much time editing beforehand. And that shortcut, and this is in between inverted commas, is copying and pasting. You can copy paste across projects, you can copy paste across windows. So if I were to open LIVRESQ in another window and start a project, and I wanted to copy a section from here and add it to the project here, I'd be able to do that. And it works in the same way. It's a copy of that section. And this works for content as well. If I wanted to copy and paste my gallery, I can just take this gallery from here and paste it. I've actually used Control C and Control V, and now it's there. And you can do it in separate windows, in separate tabs like I've done. So I have two separate tabs that allow me to, and I navigate in two separate projects, or I can open multiple projects in the same LIVRESQ window. I will just return to my resources and open the second project here. I was already in that one. And now both of my projects are open here, and I can copy and paste things across projects. It works with assistance, it works with sections, and it works with content inside those sections. So again, this is very useful if you want to streamline things. The first option that I've presented, at exporting and importing from organizers, when you want to have something more established that's easier for you to find, that's easier for you to work with, and that you really want to use in multiple projects. So there are plenty of ways to streamline your process and to create content easily and to propagate that content in multiple projects. All right, so if there are any questions, please let us know. Again, if you're watching a recording of this, leave a comment on YouTube and we'll get back to you. If you're watching a recording of this on Facebook, also leave a comment and we'll get back to you. And I'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time on Thursday at 6:30. We've slightly changed the time, so it's now 6:30 p.m. Central Eastern Time. Central European time. And we're here once every 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time.